Okay, here we go. So this is not intended to be a promotional video for Power BI, and if you don't have a little bit of patience to learn a new tool and you don't already know Power BI, this might not be the video for you. But if you're interested in understanding how Spry might be able to hook up to other software in terms of results visualization, I'm using Power BI as an example today. But there's no reason why you couldn't use other data visualization products with the methodology that I'm showing you now. So if you're not familiar, Power BI, it's a business analytics or data analytics product that is just, we have a certain number of built-in visualizations in Spry for pivot tables and spreadsheets, certain types of charts, etc. But this is something that gives you a lot more information, a lot more options, a lot more, I suppose, a lot more power in terms of your data visualization. I'm not going to be showing you how to use Power BI really. I'll point you at, there's heaps of online resources to learn how to use this tool. I would recommend that if you've got any interest in data visualization, that you check it out at a bare minimum. The data visualization example that I've got this afternoon, I created from scratch in about 10 minutes. It's not useful, but it doesn't take too long to get working with it. So what we've got here is just a something that we could probably create reasonably similarly in the spreadsheet component or within a pivot table. But I wanted to show you that you can quite quickly start to work with other visualization options that just don't exist in any tool other than the kind of tool that we're working with here. So if we go ahead and create, you can see here this is a waterfall chart. We can the data that's being fed into this particular chart is based on a pivot table export from Spry, and I want to show you basically how you can update from Spry and feed into this directly. So I've got a Spry model here where I've made a change and I've already run my schedule. So I haven't, I'm not going to make you sit through the changes that I made, but I want to show you how you can, the basics of how you would want to export data out to a tool like this. So I have a pivot table here where I've got a number of different columns, which are pretty much every different text type, like normally what we'd call a filter type. We don't mix and match them. They all go in the left-hand filter row. So I've got equipment and then a few source properties, a few destination properties. They're actually kind of randomly just dragged in. It doesn't matter where you put them because you're not going to be sorting them in here. The data analytics program is going to be doing it. So I've got source pit and destination dump, and I've got some reporting periods in here as well. And then finally, on the far side, I've got the quantities or the numbers that I'm interested in. So in this example, I've just got haulage distance and haulage quantity. I can add additional information to that if I want. Just note that if you add additional columns to the right-hand side, depending on the software that you've got, you might have to change the way the data links in. But in terms of how to get started, this is what you would start with. So all of your text forms, the left-hand side forms your sort of row, your rows, and then your data items, your values, form your column headers. So I've got a pivot table which is super long, lots of detail in here. You're never going to use this on its own. You're going to use this in combination with a post-schedule task. So post-schedule task, this is how I would choose to set it up. So I've got a post-schedule task here specifically for exporting pivot tables, and a pivot table only. A pivot table export, there's a couple of things that I would recommend that you do, especially with a pivot table this big. A pivot table with that many columns in it, it might take a few seconds to run. If you note, I'll hit the run button. This is not a huge schedule, and it takes about 5-10 seconds, somewhere in that vicinity, to export. So it's not quick. It's a lot of processing to split that data all out. And so what I do is I set my run condition to be false. And what this means is that it won't run automatically. Like most post-schedule tasks are set up, if you're running destination schedule, there's some kind of filter, but they're still running on a schedule run. By setting your run condition to false, what you're doing is you're only going to run it if you right-click on it and choose run. So this is just going to fire off if you then go, yep, I'm happy to wait a minute or two or whatever it is for your data set to send the data back out to my analytics. So you right click and choose run. And then I've got my Power BI pivot table selected. I'm shooting it out to a specific folder, which is you want to keep it in a fixed location for your analytics to know where to go to read it. This can be a network location. You just have to make sure that the drive location doesn't change too often. You might want to change the format to a text file. PDF won't be useful. And you almost always want to set it to overwrite. So you're kind of updating your data set. And also all of the options here, I would suggest they're unticked. They're all designed to help you visualize something as a human being. The data analytics programs, Power BI, they won't need to. They'll have their own summary systems that they can use. So you right click, you choose run. It'll spit that data out to wherever your folder lives, and then pretty much all it is you hit refresh in whatever system that you've got. So I'll hit refresh here. You'll see it's reloading the data out, and my graph should change. And that's it. So that's now essentially a translation system between Spry, which has a good but limited set of data visualization tools, to one of the most powerful data visualization tools available, especially one that doesn't really cost you anything to get going with. You can get at Power BI for the most part for very little cost. So anyway, I hope that is useful to those of you who like to make your data pop. If you have any questions about the Spry side of that, please let us know. My Power BI skills are not particularly good. You might want to contact somebody else for that. Thank you for your attention. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.